Abidjan. It's like
it will tell us the more people coming. Gets to around 50, you can tell me. 50 people.
okay.
Bismillah. Good evening, fellow Gambians. I welcome all of you to this evening's conversation with our citizens. I haven't done this for quite a while. Come live on Facebook and to interact with great many of you, particularly those who are out of our country and are interested in what we have to say about our nation's trajectory. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having witnessed another Eid, for the peace and stability in our country, and for the prosperity in our personal lives, and the lessons of the challenge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bestow His blessings and His protection and guidance for all our people, wherever we may be. We pray that Allah will continue to bless this nation abundantly and to grant wisdom and knowledge to our leaders so that they will be able to efficiently and effectively steer the affairs of state towards a trajectory that will serve the common good of all Gambians, both at home and abroad. It is important that we discuss affairs relating to our country. After all, the Gambia is the only country in the world that we own. And so the Gambia is the most precious nation to us. It is important that from some type of auditing takes where we're going, at what speed and what we have achieved and how far we've come. What are our challenges and how do we surmount these challenges? It is important that we listen to one another, that we share ideas, we debate, we consult in order to form a broad consensus about the way our country needs to be governed. We're living in very difficult times, and the reason of this evening's exchange is not to arouse any intense feeling on the part of any individual, but rather to find a way for us Gambians to consult and to share ideas and best practices and how to come together to solve the many challenges that we face as a nation and as a people. So I would respectfully urge each and every one of us to put away our partisan hearts and attires and sentiments, and for once during the period of this consultation, we put on the garb of Gambianship, of Gambianness. We orally to one another and listen passionately and intensely as Gambians, of same destiny, one country, and not to begin to place each other in boxes. You know, you belong to the white box, you belong to the black box, or you belong to the violet color. The problems of the Gambia are not problems of gender. It's not a problem that is unique only to the women folk of our country. The challenges the country faces is not about what men face alone. It's not even about what one political party faces. The problems of the Gambia are Gambian problems. They know no color. The prices at the market are prices that affect all Gambians, regardless of which party or which political party leader you support, which region you come from. The problems that we encounter in terms of resolving the perennial problems relating to our institutions are not issues that are relevant to any one particular party or germane to any one political leader, but these are Gambian problems. And we have a government that is in place today. It is called the Gambia government. It doesn't matter whether you voted for the government or not. It doesn't matter whether you support the government or not. We have a government today that is governing the country, and it is the Gambia government. So it behoves every Gambian to participate in the affairs of your country. And participating in the affairs of your country includes discussing and exchanging views about the problems affecting your country, but also appreciating the successes that we have made as a people. The success of any government is a success for Gambian people, and the failure of any government, by and large, debatably, would be attributed to the Gambia as well. So when we come together to holistically look at where we are and where we ought to be leading, I would encourage that we do so as Gambians. Having said the preamble, we have to look at the geopolitics of our region. The Gambia is in West Africa. Besides the global economic complexities, our region is beset by new political challenges. We have a new dawn in Mali, we have a new dawn in Burkina Faso. These are, of course, the net effects or consequences of the political fallout as a result of the feelings of people in those countries. But again, these are countries who have a direct impact on what happens in our region. Outside our region, there is a lot of instability. Again, Mali is facing terrorism. We are facing a similar problem in Niger. Burkina Faso is constantly impacted by senseless loss of lives in their country, again due to the impact of terrorism. Northern Nigeria is becoming impassable as a result of both Boko Haram and Ansaruddin and a number of proliferation of terrorist organizations. So we are in a region that is beset by superfluous insecurity. In our countries closer to home, crime rate is increasing due to one factor or the other. Security of life is becoming a major concern for most people in our region, both in the Gambia and Senegal. Guinea-Bissau is also in a strait where Parliament still is not able to find a way working with the executive. Again, problems of transnational crime such as drugs and other negative vices are impacting the region, resulting to a massive wave of contraband all over the region. Our economies are small in scale. we are all combating the net effects of the disruptions in the global supply chain, increases that are felt in inflation, biting inflation, in terms of prices of commodities, basic commodities, inflation in terms of our purchasing power with regards to hydrocarbon, that is fuel, energy, very important. Inflation also is reflected in our food price, but also in fertilizer. This year we've seen a sinful increase in the price of fertilizer, quite unlike any in the history of our country. And that is not because anybody would like to hike the price of fertilizer, but because it is dependent on external factors over which the government has no control. We do not produce fertilizer. So these are some of the net effects within the geopolitical context that we operate in today. But all hope is not lost. What is important is not about these challenges. It is how we come together as a country, collectively working together to confront these challenges and transform them into actionable opportunities for our country. That is what is at stake today. My desire, my interest, my focus is not coming here to apportion blame to anybody. My presence here is to encourage a situation where governments will begin to talk to each other respectfully, appreciating each other respectfully, and working together to find common solutions to the problems we face as a country. Admittedly, we have a government in place. Arguably, some people could say, well, it's not our business, it's the business of the government to find a solution. But let us look at it this way. Who is the government? Who is the government? The government is not just the president and cabinet ministers. The government is people by hundreds of thousands of Gambians. There are hundreds of thousands of Gambians in the public service, in the civil service, and in the public service. They together, with the president and his cabinet, constitute the government of the Gambia. So it's our brothers and sisters, it's the cleaner, it's the driver, it's the secretary at work, at the desk table who gives form to documents. It is the permanent secretary, it is assistant secretaries, it is the clerks, it is the security forces, and all a myriad of workers together called the Gambia government. So it is these people, hundreds of thousands of Gambians. I think the velocity of our development would have gone further. But let me state this. The geopolitical context is very clear. The Gambia today is facing some of the challenges, as I indicated, that we ought to look into. I am going to give the analogy of a lion. Let's say a lion and a zebra, for example. It is very clear to the zebra that for it to be able to survive in the jungle, it must be able to run fast in order to escape from other predators that have the ability to harm it, perhaps put an end to its life, or to a gazelle. But it is also clear to the lion, who is considered the king of the jungle, that for it to be able to survive in the jungle also, it has to be able to run faster than all the other animals, or it has to devise a method of catching up with the other animals so that it can defeat them and feed on them. This is the analogy of development. We live in a globalized world. Every country is compared to a jungle, a forest. For you to develop, and for you to develop faster, you must create conditions that will enable your state not only to be able to catch up with other countries, but to run faster than them. That is the challenge where we are. The Gambia must imagine itself being in a jungle, and that we must be the lion of that jungle. But there are so many other animals that would not like the lion to remain the king. So, effectively, the Gambia has to join the race to win, the race for development, and it has to come from us. The Gambian must be hungry for development. We must be hungry to develop this country. And that hunger must motivate all of us to do something. Now, we are all impacted by the food crisis. Now it is time for the rainy season, agriculture. That is a unique opportunity for us to do something about this. There is arable land. Many of us living in the Combos and other areas not involved in agriculture or horticulture. It's a very good opportunity for a lot of us Gambians to begin to think to go into farming. Even if it is small acres of land that we can cultivate, the cumulative effect of it will have some cushioning for our country. Because nation building is the result of intense efforts, which requires a phenomenal undertaking by all citizens. And this includes, of course, the nation's government. It includes the public and the private sector. It also includes the citizens. These are the three groups responsible for the phenomenal development of a country. The government sets the vision. The public and private sector helps to facilitate the realization of this vision. And the public must buy into this vision as well, the citizenry. When you have a convergence of these three elements, in any country, there is bound to be development. We need a vision that the citizens can believe in. We need a vision that the public sector and the private sector will be able to motor. In other words, will be able to not only engineer but drive to its successful conclusion. The vision for every country, normally it's 5-year development plan. In some countries they have 100 years development plan. The long term and the short term, the medium term and the long term development objectives. But all of these are intended for the country's overall development. Now, these are the factors that we must all look at. And in looking at the development blueprint of any nation, we must be critical, of course, of the content of the blueprint itself. But it is the responsibility of every citizen to ensure the success of a blueprint for your country. So today we are looking at developing post-NDP, which expired sometime last year, and we have an extension of the NDP now. Whatever is contained in the blueprint, as wide as the national consultation is going on, because I understand, I know that the technical team has gone all over the country, in order to reflect the wishes and aspirations of the citizenry in the next development trajectory, in the next development plan. Now, it is a responsibility of every citizen, regardless of which political party you belong to see that what is contained in the plan actually succeeds. Succeeds not because you are nations. I know that primary health care has been expanded in so many parts of the country. There has been some reasonable access to medical services all over the country. But what we are grappling today is the element of quality. Quality is not something that can be achieved overnight. We need to focus on improving quality. That is an ongoing thing. Quality is not something you can achieve overnight. It is not possible for a miracle to be performed in enhancing our Medicare delivery system to perfection. Since we have, the issue has to do with quality. Quality is the main problem. Then we need to focus on how do we improve that quality. The question is it's not audible?
No, it's good.
Now, so in the healthcare delivery system, the problem is not only access, because access is improving, quality is where we need to focus on. So it is the responsibility of government and all governments to focus on that. But you see, let us look at another area that many governments complain about. I mean, I do not have evidence for this. I don't have any evidence. But there is a lot of conversation around that when you go to the hospitals, you go to the healthcare clinics, there are no medicines. And that there is an allegation that many of the doctors working in hospitals would normally siphon off these medicines to sell them to pharmacies or open their own pharmacies. Whether this is true or not, this is something that needs to be investigated. This is something that we need to get to the bottom of, because it has been going on for years. I do remember this during the time of the last government. It has been a frequent decimal in the health discussions. And again today, the perception is, medicines that are imported into the country by government are being removed from central medical stores and placed in private pharmacies of the doctors themselves or sold to private pharmacies. This is an area, like I indicated, needs to be investigated. We must not just listen to it and brush off. True or false, if not investigated, we will not be able to determine the truth. So I urge that a thorough investigation be done in that area. We also need to understand that public health policy is not driven by doctors. Doctors don't make health policy. Public healthcare workers are the people who actually make healthcare policy. So it is important that what is happening now, we change the abnormality. Doctors need to be among the caregivers. We need doctors in the hospitals. We don't need doctors administering healthcare policy. They are caregivers. What we need is healthcare professionals who are endowed with the knowledge, the expertise and the skill to look at, on broad level, the national healthcare infrastructure and devise a policy that will be implemented. Doctors are part and parcel of that implementation, but they are not necessarily to be the main drivers of healthcare policy. We need to get that part corrected. It's very important we get that corrected. But as a country, this is not an indictment on the healthcare sector. I am not condemning the healthcare sector. I am giving additional ideas that I believe will help strengthen our healthcare sector. Because it is very important to condemn, which many of us governments are good at doing, but most times we do not give solutions to what we are condemning. And as long as it is government, it's always easier to be negative for everything that government does. That is not our politics. We do not believe in that. We believe in commending where commendation is necessary. We believe in giving ideas and solutions where there is a deficiency of those in the implementation of national development policy. So the healthcare really needs greater expansion. We need more quality. We need the public health workers to lead the healthcare policy of the Gambia. And we need doctors back into the hospitals. There are too many professional doctors who are actually administrators. If you go to the Ministry of Health, what these doctors are missing is that the general public, the healthcare system is missing the expertise and the knowledge that these doctors who are no longer serving in hospitals but are sitting at chairs, at desks, at offices, dishing out healthcare policy. I think this is a situation that needs to change. Even if there is one, it's one too many. Even if there are two, it's two too many. If there are three, it's already three too many. We need our doctors back into the hospitals and healthcare centers and allow the public healthcare workers to take the lead in the formulation and implementation of healthcare solutions. And I believe that this is something that the government will listen to and will look into it. Now we come to our educational system. The government must be commended for building thousands of classrooms over the past few years. It is an important step. We must first build classrooms in order to be able to allow people to be in those classrooms. Access to education is no longer the main challenge. There are schools in the remotest part of this country. There are schools all over. But we must work on the bottleneck. The bottleneck in the primary level has to be resolved. And over the years, the government has been working consistently through policy in order to improve the quality at the primary level. Because the primary level quality is what will determine the kind of students we churn out to the tertiary level. The kind of quality education that we impart to our children at the primary level will determine the quality of students we have at the university. So it is important that the primary level is taken care of. And that is why government has invested hundreds of millions over the past few years into primary education. Now, but that is not enough. There are still great disparities in terms of learning facilities between the rural and the urban areas. That needs to be resolved. Learning disparities must be resolved. We have to bridge the difference in terms of the quality of access to primary education in the rural and the urban area. Now, government is doing a lot about that by encouraging and paying a child per head. I think they have this school where each child is paid some type of SI. I think there's something called SIG, that is paid per child. I think this is happening. I think part of this is to encourage enrollment in schools at the same time to maintain retention in the primary level. These are deliberate policies that government is doing, and it needs to be commended for that. What we need now is again to inject quality into the primary school curricula and in the primary school education system. Quality is really what we need at that level as well. But like I indicated earlier, quality is not something that comes overnight. Quality is something that you keep working on. You know, standard improvement in standards requires constant assessment, constant critical analysis and evaluation of what exists and what could have existed. So it is something that we will continue to do. From independence today, I think the educational system has gone a long way. The death of the system is one of quality. It is believed that the quality a few years back, you know, some 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, is much better than today. Now, whether this is the case or not is up for national debate. Yes, but the issues regarding common entrance, the issues relating to common entrance is something that we also have to look at. But this discussion is not, again, to make an indictment on the failures of the educational system. It is very difficult to get a system operating. And we must appreciate what is being done by teachers, you know, many of whom really are working under very difficult circumstances, by education workers, by the ministry itself, and by what is working in the system. We maintain that. And let us look at what is not working. And we discuss that as a country. We debate what is not working as a country. And how do we make it better? I think that is most important. How do we make it better? How do we complement what government is doing in terms of our ideas, in terms of billions have been invested into agriculture over the past decade and a half, 2 decades or more. Agriculture still has serious problems. Still serious problems in agriculture, but the problem of agriculture also is one in which we must continue to focus on. Successive governments from independence to date have had serious problems with agriculture. It is not a sector, it's not an area that is as a matter of course that you can resolve overnight. There are endemic problems there. We need to look at what are the problems that continues to militate against implementation of agricultural policy. Why is it that, you know, the progress that we envisage in agriculture is not taking place and has not taken place over the past years? We need to look at this as a country. And ideas are necessary to help government understand this. Because whereas government has a responsibility to make sure we have an agricultural policy that is relevant, that is robust, and that is viable, the citizens ultimately are the auditors of the implementation mechanism. So where we feel things are going wrong, it would be right to engage government. Engaging government because you are the government. At the end of the day, President Barrow is the president, but you are the government. The government is the people of the Gambia. So we need, again, you know, to look for ideas. It is not for me to sit down here and lecture. This is the best for agriculture, this is the best for health, this is the best for education. I am not lecturing. And I have no desire. It is not, the purpose of this discussion is not to lecture. It is intended to ignite a conversation so that we can think of working together, thinking together as a country, and finding solutions together instead of polarizing each other as this one belongs to GMC, this one belongs to another party, it belongs to another party. Ideas from all Gambians are Gambian ideas. A Gambian idea is what will propel this nation forward. And yesterday, the President has set an example by calling on me, calling on Honorable Hussein Dabo and other political party leaders, and to felicitate them on the Ramadan. I think it's a good step in the right direction. I think it is setting a step in terms of reconciling this country and our supporters as well. In fact, that is part of the reason why it is necessary that we should have this conversation. You know, so the President has reached out to the opposition by, you know, initiating a phone call. Everything begins with a step. It's a very good step, an important step in the right direction. Picking the phone to call Honorable Hussein Dabo on his own, and picking the phone to call Honorable Maifati and other opposition leaders, I think is an act of leadership. I think the desire is to reconcile our people. I think the desire is to unite this country. I think the desire is to see, let us put everything behind us. Let us come together and move together as a country. Let us put aside our political differences. We belong to different philosophies, but we are all Gambians now. It is time to work. I think that gesture by the President is commendable, and I commend it highly, and I truly appreciate it. I think that is the way forward. It is now for us to respond. He took the first step. We should take the second step. And perhaps the President will take the third step, and we will take the fourth step. At some point, we will meet together. So this is not about praising President Barrow. It's not about praising Honorable Usman Dabo. It's not about positioning Honorable Maifati to be praised. This is about the country. If we do that, I believe that we will learn to appreciate each other. We will learn to work together. We will learn to coordinate together. And it is necessary that we are able to continue to do that. Because we have to make a choice.